Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Astotra Satyashi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Gantvad Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Gaur Premananda. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Vishnu Krishna Prestha Guru Ishvare Satrutas Swami. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I don't know what verse we're on. Does anyone know? Somewhere around 19 or 20. I know we did 17. 18. Okay. 19 is about the asuras. This is an example of asuric life. $20. All right, that's good. Okay. Canto 7, chapter 4, verse number 20. Driptasya chastravartinaha kalo mahan vyatiyaya brahmashapam upeyushaha evam aishvarya matasya driptasya chastravartinaha kalo mahan vyatiyaya brahmashapam upeyushaha evam aishvarya matasya driptasya chastravartinaha kalo mahan vyatiyaya brahmashapam upeyushaha. Anyone else?
It's 7:420.
7:420. Evam Aishwaryamattasya Triptasyochasvartinah Galo Mahanvitiyaya Ramashapamupesha Evam Aishwaryamattasya Triptasyochasvartinah Kalo Mahanvitiyaya Brahmashapamupesha Evam Aishwaryamattasya Triptasyochastavartinah Kalo Mahanvitiyaya Brahmashapamupesha Evam Aishwaryamattasya Triptasyochastavartinah Kalo Mahanvitiyaya Brahmashapamupesha. Evam, thus, Aishwaryamattasya, of one who was intoxicated by opulences, Triptasya, greatly proud, Uchastravartinaha, transgressing the regulative principles mentioned in the Shastras, Kala, duration of time, Mahan, a great, Vyatiyaya, past, Brahmashapam, a curse by exalted brahmanas, Upesha, having obtained. Translation. Hiranyakashipu thus passed a long time, being very much proud of his opulences and transgressing the laws and regulations mentioned in the authoritative Shastras. He was therefore subjected to a curse by the 4 Kumaras, who were great brahmanas. Repeat after me. Hiranyakashipu thus passed a long time, being very much proud of his opulences and transgressing the laws and regulations mentioned in the authoritative Shastras. He was therefore subjected to a curse by the 4 Kumaras, who were great brahmanas. In Prabhupada's purport, there have been many instances in which demons, after achieving material opulences, have become extremely proud, so much so that they have transgressed the laws and regulations given in the authoritative Shastras. Hiranyakashipu acted in this way. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 16:23, Yakshastra vidhim utsrija vartate kamakarataha nasa siddhim avatnoti nasukam na param gatim. He who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection nor happiness, nor the supreme destination. The word Shastra refers to that which controls our activities. We cannot violate or transgress the laws and regulative principles mentioned in the Shastras. Bhagavad Gita repeatedly confirms this. Tasmat Shastram Pramanam Te Karya Vyavastito Yatva Shastra Vidhanoktam Karma Kartum Iharhasi. One should understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulations of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated. Bhagavad Gita 16:24. One should act according to the direction of the Shastra, but the material energy is so powerful that as soon as one becomes materially opulent, he begins to transgress the Shastric laws. As soon as one transgresses the laws of Shastra, he immediately enters upon the path of destruction. Om again, Tumurandasya, Nanjana Salakaya. Akshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Svaparandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Dev Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so that's let's see, being very much proud of his opulences and transgressing the laws and regulations mentioned in the authoritative Shastras. That's a tendency that when Prabhupada came here, most of the young men and women, they came from relatively opulent backgrounds. Everyone had plenty to eat in their homes with their parents, and many of them had left and joined the hippie movement to some extent. One thing you should know, I try to say one time, is that people have an idea of hippie as something really, really weird. And it was weird, of course it's weird. But it's not like the hippies were very different from everybody else, all the other young people. Everybody was into the same stuff, the same sense gratification. Just some of the people who looked a little more outlandish, a little more hairy, a little more weirdly dressed, and maybe took more drugs or stuff. They were called hippies, but there wasn't much difference, and it's not very different than it is now, except there's less of the rebellion against standard, what's past standard American society. These days, you can't really afford to get out of standard economic and practical American society, because you're trapped at every step by all kinds of credit card debt and student debt and all kinds of stuff. You can't, if you get outside of it, it's like your whole life can be like put into complete upheaval for many years to come. But back then, there was less of all that, less of all the people were, in that sense, more free to be more like, yeah, just do whatever feels good. Just whatever, man. We didn't have whatever back then, but we had other things like whatever. And anyways, Prabhupada came into that situation, and the main thing is that people in the material world, especially in Kali Yuga, especially when they become more opulent and they get more puffed up, because they think you get money, you start thinking that you're really something special. You're like in your heart and in your mind, you're like, yeah, look at me. I got it going on, and I got money, and people do what I say, and I have whatever I want. So I'm something pretty cool. And then the more you have that mentality, the more by accumulation of opulence from past karma and whatever from past karma, you think then why should I do what anybody tells me? I just do what I want to do, and of course that's everybody's basic mentality in the material world. Every fallen soul comes to the material world with that mentality. I do what I want to do. Nobody can tell me what to do. But the whole, yeah, so everywhere, all over the world, it's exactly like that. Everyone is just trying to get ahead, make a name for themselves. But only in Vedic culture, the whole point of Vedic culture, like everything we do in Krishna consciousness from the moment we wake up in the morning. Like I remember when all the brahmacharis were together, sleeping on the floor in the front in the ashram on the third floor, and the alarm went off, and the temple president came in the room, and everybody woke everybody up, and everybody got up at the same time. And the first thing you do is as soon as you wake up, you offer obeisances. Is before you roll up your sleeping bag and put it away and clean the floor with a bucket of water and a rag. Standard practice. And that was after prasadam too. As soon as you get up from taking prasadam, you clean the floor with a bucket and a damp rag. So a lot of those things have fallen by the wayside over the years. And yeah, so the first thing you did when you, but it's good to have all those practices, Brahminical practices, even from the moment you wake up in the morning. And the first thing you did was offer obeisances on your sleeping bag to Prabhupada. He was the only spiritual master at that time. You offer obeisances and you get up and begin doing, taking care of your body, taking a quick cold shower. And it's easy to take a quick shower when the water is cold. And you don't want to spend a long time in there luxuriating in nice hot water. I take a hot shower now. But back then, nobody took a hot shower unless you were pretty sick. Then you could take a hot shower and sleep late and take extra rest during the day. But other than that, it was anyways, our whole process in Krishna consciousness is working under, living our life under rules and regulations. And from the moment we get up in the morning till the moment we go to bed at night, go to sleep at night, our whole life is rules and regulations. Living a pretty strict, regimented life under the authority of Guru and Krishna. It's one of the things that, key things, most important things, immediate things that Prabhupada taught. As soon as he saw that the disciples were ready to accept all these things, he taught the different rules of of every aspect of life, from taking prasadam to sleeping to every chanting japa, morning program, evening program, harinam, everything was done under discipline. Disciple means discipline. So, and the reason is it's not rules for the sake of having rules. It's like one thing they do in the army sometimes. I've heard. I wasn't in the army in this life, but sometimes they'll say, "No, I wasn't. Not in this life. Probably in past lives. We might have all been on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Who knows?" But I haven't been in this life. But one thing they do in training the new recruits in the army is like they have them dig a hole, a big hole, and then they have them fill the hole in, and then they have them dig the hole again. So it seems to not make much sense, but it's just for the purpose of reinforcing the idea that you're in the army now. You do what you're told. I mean, it was, yeah, you do what you're told, and it has to be like that in the army, and it has to be like that in Krishna's army, in Prabhupada's army, not in the same impersonal sense, but Prabhupada often referred to Krishna consciousness as one should execute his orders as if in military discipline, and he frequently used like military examples and phrases to refer to the discipline of the disciples in Krishna consciousness. And the point is, not like in the army, like you just, of course, there's a purpose there too. The purpose is you'll have to go into battle someday and you'll have to do exactly what you're told. Sometimes a platoon leader or a troop leader sends one group of soldiers into one part of a battle knowing that they're going to be killed. And he knows that when he sends them in, but he has to do it as a diversion tactic or a time-saving tactic or something. So the soldiers have to be so disciplined that they'll do what they're told. The purpose is to win the war. So there is an overarching principle. Our overarching principle in Krishna's army is that we have to preach. We have to be disciplined for our own sake so that we can follow Krishna consciousness throughout our lives and in the end go back home, back to Godhead, or take another birth in the material world to help our spiritual master preach, and which is the same as going back to Godhead. So, but the overwhelming principle in Lord Chaitanya's army is to have an effective force for spreading Krishna consciousness. They have to be disciplined and act under the authority of leaders in Krishna consciousness in order to have an effective fighting force to preach, to go out and distribute books, to go out and do programs, to maintain the temple in such a way that it should be clean all the time. It should be welcoming to guests. There should always be prasadam. There have to always be books available to give the guest. Yes, and like especially it's evident like at times during big festivals like Rath Yatra or any, like having Prabhupada's 60th arrival festival in the fall, and there will have to be a lot of discipline in order to pull that off effectively, and a lot of sacrifice, or the Christmas marathon to distribute books. Devotees all over the world take that extremely seriously, and they do very big austerities. And it's all under the guidance, it's all under the central theme of this that Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. in the negative way, he who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination. So in that verse, he says it in a negative way, but you can always say it in the positive way. He who accepts and abides by scriptural injunctions and acts according to the desires of his temple authorities and spiritual master, it definitely does attain perfection and happiness and the supreme destination. And in this verse, one should understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulations of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may be gradually elevated. So it's a very clear a principle, and as to not only what the rules and regulations are, but why we do it. We do it because we're suffering. The common example that Prabhupada gives is a patient who is sick. He goes to the doctor, and the doctor gives him a regimen of taking certain medicines and generally diet, and often generally exercise. So and the person may, before going to the doctor, he may be completely unregulated in his eatings and sleeping and exercise, and not taking any medicine, but of course, when he, but if he follows the regimen that the doctor gives him, then he can be cured and come back to a healthy state. So the whole principle of all the rules and regulations is to return us to our healthy condition of pure Krishna consciousness, pure love of Krishna, which is everyone's God-given right and natural position. We should always we should always remember that our own position as aspiring disciples, aspiring devotees, we're always conscious of what we need to do, and we're always aware that we're falling short, not able to live up to everything that our spiritual master wants us to do in body, mind, and soul. But we're trying, and we're trying very hard. We know that we have to, and we know that it's our duty, and we know that we want to, because we want to be pure devotees again. We want to remember our loving relationship with Krishna. We want to go back home, back to Godhead. And it's important to remember that Krishna wants us back too. It's not just our desire, it's Krishna's desire for us, that he wants us to come back to him. And his desire is guiding and influencing and ultimately not controlling. Krishna doesn't force us to surrender to him. So it's not controlling in the sense of force, but it's controlling in the sense of the force of loving desire. Because you're forced to surrender to someone that you have a very close, loving relationship with because you know they want it, and you know you want to please them. So the force of loving reciprocation is ultimately the most important factor in our own discipline, our own desire to surrender to Krishna, our own practice of Krishna consciousness. It's not a one-sided relationship. We want to serve Krishna, and Krishna he's also serving us. And he wants us to come back home, back to Godhead. His desire is extremely powerful. That's why we're all here, because he came as Lord Chaitanya. He came as Krishna 5,000 years ago, spoke the Bhagavad Gita, and he came over 500 years ago now. And he, just for the purpose of expressing, exhibiting his desire that all the fallen souls come back to him. That's the meaning of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. That's the external meaning. The internal meaning is for him to understand Srimati Radharani's feelings for him. But the external meaning, not that just because we say it's external meaning, that doesn't mean that it's like not important. And it's the most important thing for us in the beginning, especially, and it's spread Krishna consciousness and save ourselves and save everyone else in the world, ultimately in the universe, from the cycle of birth and death and suffering in the material world. So, yeah, the point is that Krishna, the human life is meant for rules and regulations. In the lower species of life, when I was in the body of a plant or a tiger or a whale, there was no rule and regulation for me. I didn't have to do what anybody told me. I just lived as a tree or a lion, did whatever I was told to do by my instinct, by the force of the laws of material energy. That's all I could do. That's all. I couldn't even think about anything else, any other kind of law or rule, regulation. But in the human form of life, human life is meant for the purpose of living under transcendental Krishna conscious rules and regulations. That's why we get the body of a human being. Yes. Yeah, I mean, that's covered repeatedly in Prabhupada's books and Rupa Goswami's books. Is that we're in the beginning of Krishna consciousness. There has to be rules and regulations. Otherwise, you're not on the spontaneous platform of pure love and Godhead. We practice Krishna consciousness, Vaidhi Bhakti, and under the guidance of superior authority. And even in Goloka Vrindavan, the gopis, they have their authority gopis, and ultimately everyone is serving Radharani and Krishna as their superiors. And, there's always authority, whether you're on the spontaneous platform in Krishna consciousness or not, but especially us in the beginning state of Krishna consciousness, we don't know what to do. And it can easily, that's a Prakrita Sahajya mentality that I'm spontaneous, I'm already advanced. And there's a tendency in the heart of every conditioned soul, there's a tendency to sometimes less or sometimes stronger to think that I'm already advanced. I can already be spontaneous. But the fact of the matter is that you're not advanced. You're not able to be spontaneous. Not yet. The time will come, but it's not now. It is for many devotees. There are many devotees in ISKCON who are definitely on the spontaneous, elevated, pure platform. But in general, it's not me. It's probably not you. It might be, but it's probably not. So we just have to accept our position as neophytes and act accordingly. Hare Krishna, 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 Satsvrtas, Goswami, Krishna, 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 Namaste.